Hello and welcome to this module on PubMed. This module will provide the contextual background to answer the following questions. What is PubMed and who produces it? Which databases does PubMed index and how do they differ? And why those differences are significant when searching. Simply put, PubMed is a search engine, and it indexes the biomedical and life science literature within articles, books, reports, and images. And it has over 30 million citations, and that's big. The best part is that it's a free resource of the United States government. The federal government has many layers, departments, agencies, institutes. It's helpful to understand where PubMed fits in and to recognize the acronyms. PubMed is a product of the National Library of Medicine. NLM is the world's largest medical library. It collects, indexes, and makes available information for researchers and scientists, medical and health professionals, students, and the general public. NLM is located on the National Institute of Health campus in Bethesda, Maryland. The NIH serves as the centralized hub for the nation's medical research. PubMed is maintained by the National Center for Biotechnology Information. NCBI is a division of the National Library of Medicine, and one of its products is PubMed. We've peeled away the government layers. Now we'll peel away the layers to PubMed content. The content indexed in PubMed comes from 3 different databases: Medline, PubMed Central, and Bookshelf. It's important to note that PubMed indexes and contains the citations to this content. A citation tells you who wrote the article, when it was written, and in which publication. PubMed itself does not contain any full text. However, some of the databases it indexes do. The Medline database indexes articles from journals within a very defined scope in the biomedical and life sciences. Currently, there are over 5,200 journals indexed in Medline, and that will continue to grow. Now, the Literature Selection Technical Review Committee oversees a very vigorous review process that makes the recommendations for journals that are included in Medline. Nearly all of the content in Medline is considered scholarly or peer-reviewed. Now, a key feature of Medline is that it indexes articles with MESH headings. MESH is the Controlled Subject Headings Index of the National Library of Medicine. It is maintained as a separate database by the NCBI. And here's why it's key. This is why you should care. Because with over 30 million citations, these subject headings are the key to sifting through those citations to uncover the articles on your topic. Again, Medline itself has no full text article. Like PubMed, it's strictly citations. However, PubMed has a link out feature. So when available, it provides a link to the publisher's website where full text can be obtained, or provides a link to free content within PubMed Central. PubMed Central is a digital archive of the National Library of Medicine consisting of freely available, full text journal literature. And it's sourced from 3 different ways. The full participating providers who apply and meet the acceptance requirements of the NIH and provide complete coverage of their content from a specified date. Then there's publishers who provide selected content. These are subscription publishers whose authors pay a fee to make their articles available open access. And then there's articles that are required to submit according to the NIH's public access policy. According to the policy, all research funded by U.S. government agencies and NIH partner organizations are required to supply a copy of the author's manuscript for inclusion in PubMed Central. PMC also collects and works with publishers to archive historically significant article literature. And that link out feature in PubMed provides a link to the full text. So all of that content is available to you. Here are some key points to keep in mind. Keep in mind that this research and those of other participating publishers may be outside the scope or not meet the journal criteria to be included in Medline. Medline guidelines are considered more stringent. So while there is certainly overlap, the citations between the databases are definitely not identical. While PubMed Central provides free full text to articles, Bookshelf provides free full text to books, reports, and other non-article documents related to the biomedical, health, and life sciences. Citations to this content is found in PubMed, and that link out feature will take you to the full text on Bookshelf. Here's an interesting statistic. Currently, 91% of the articles indexed in PubMed is comprised of Medline. Think about that. PubMed is mostly Medline, but they are not identical. And here's what we'll find the key differences. For journals that are normally included in Medline, there's a lag of time between when those articles get published and when they're indexed with those mesh headings. Eventually, they'll get to Medline, but if you just search Medline, not PubMed, you may miss some newer articles. Some of the articles in those Medline journals will be determined out of the scope for Medline content, and so they'll never actually make it to Medline. And some publishers accept articles for publication and post a digital version called ahead of print. At this time, they're not yet published, so they're not yet in Medline. And of course, there's content in PubMed Central that will never be included in Medline because those journals are not included in Medline. I'd like to point out 3 key research considerations. First, Medline is indexed by PubMed, but it's made available to other database providers. So whether you search Medline as an Ovid database or an EBSCO database, it's the same Medline content in PubMed. If you find searching easier in the EBSCO database, accessible through the Misericordia database A through Z list, by all means do that. After all, 91% of PubMed is Medline. However, since EBSCO is a subscription database, you may not have access to EBSCO after you graduate. It's worth becoming familiar with using the PubMed interface because it's a free resource. You might also prefer its search features. This is a personal choice. The link out feature in PubMed will link you to the publisher's websites. However, this doesn't mean that the content will necessarily be free. You may be asked to pay for it. As a student, we don't want you to pay for articles. The library may have access to the full text, but you'll need to take an extra step. If you can't get the full text at the publisher website, then always check the Misericordia Journal Finder to be certain Misericordia doesn't have access to it. If we don't, you still have the option to request an article interlibrary loan to see if another library will loan us a copy. And if you can't get that article, talk to your librarian to help you find an alternative. There are separate tutorials on using Journal Finder and interlibrary loan, and if you have any questions, your librarian can help. This concludes our introductory module. Look for additional modules to learn more about conducting research using PubMed.